One thing, especially in Nigeria, sadly that kills vehicle in Nigeria is the abuse on the engine cooling system fan. Almost every car you see on Nigerian road, including brand new ones, used, funny used, recently imported, used in Nigeria for many years, all of them, average vehicle on Nigerian road runs with the fan spinning constantly, especially the electric ones. They constantly, once you switch on ignition and start the vehicle, they start running till you switch off the car, especially on a very high speed. And what's the consequence of this? Adversely, it affects your fuel consumption and gradually grinds, sometimes rapidly grind your engine to its death. So, why does it affect your fuel consumption? Like I mentioned in the earlier video, when I talked about engine cooling system thermostat, the remover in Nigeria, the lower the coolant temperature, or the lower the water temperature in your engine, or the lower your temperature gauge. Oh, thanks. Yeah, someone just gifted me something. I'll show you guys later. So the lower the coolant temperature gauge, or water temperature gauge, or the temperature gauge in your vehicle, something that has to do with the cooling of the engine. The lower this temperature gauge, the higher the fuel consumption. In other words, the higher your car consumes fuel. Now, the higher your temperature gauge, the higher it goes up from that blue zone, or from the particular part of the gauge where it's resting. So the higher it goes up, the lesser the engine consumes fuel. Let me put it in an easier way for you to understand. When your engine starts overheating, that's the best time the engine consumes less fuel. The best it does. At that moment, fuel barely enters inside the engine, even though it's still running. But I'm not saying go and make your engine to overheat so that it will consume less. It's just an analogy to tell you that the higher, it doesn't matter, the more the gauge of your engine cooling system continue to go up, the lesser fuel that goes into your engine, the less you spend on fuel. Now, when you connect your fan, you bypass it, you cut it off, you do all kinds of things so that it stays on permanently with your engine running or with your ignition on. What that will make the cooling system do is the temperature will always stay low, because the reason why these systems were designed to only make the fan to work at certain degrees Celsius, especially on average between 85 to 105 degrees Celsius. That's what almost all cars, I'm talking about even from the 80s, that's how they design any vehicle is conceived from the 80s till date to work. That's how our engine cooling system is concerned. That's the best time the engine performs well, and the best time the engine becomes fuel efficient. But when you now go and bypass it and make it to stay on constantly, there's no how the temperature will be able to rise up. At least up to these figures I mentioned, 85 to 105 degrees Celsius. So it will constantly keep it low, because it's constantly blowing cooler air through the radiator to the engine, the condenser, so you can never allow it to warm up. You might think you are doing your engine good, but you are basically killing it. Because the difference is very easy. Check somebody that have not tampered with his engine cooling system, and every other thing on the engine ever since got the car has been intact, including other maintenance practices. and find out why is it that every 2 years your oil consumption goes high. Every now and then you are busy visiting fuel stations, even with your 1.1 liter engine, your 1.4 liter engine, your 2.0 liter engine, yet your engine consumes sometimes even more fuel than the 3.0 V6 engines. You'll be surprised, even more than the 4.0 V8 engines. Some circumstances or some, there are cases like that that I've also observed. It's because as long as your engine cooling system thermostat, or in this case, specifically for this video, as long as your fan stays on, or most importantly, as long as your temperature gauge, water, coolant, call it whatever you want to call it, as long as your water or coolant temperature gauge stays low, most of the time while the engine is running, there is no way that your engine will last for you. But me, I'm telling you, if you like, tell me whatever. If you can tell me, oh, but I've been using this car for 5 years and there's nothing wrong with it, then it means you are too ignorant to even see right before your face that your engine is almost dead. Some people make this argument, and I said, it's not nothing. Give it to an expert. He will analyze your engine and tell you the depth or the degree of death of your engine. People, you don't really know, because what usually happens is from day one, you've been using wrong oil that barely burns, so you think your engine is still good. Listen to your engine. I have tools where you can place and listen to the sound of engine, not using your, just by staring at the engine bay. You look at the sound and say, oh, the sound is okay. No, I have special tool I can put on my ear, place it on your engine. I can tell you exactly which part of your engine is knocking, which you won't barely hear without that. You can barely hear it. But when you place it on a good running engine, you will barely hear such sound. But when you put it on such engine that have been running with cold coolant or cold water, or the temperature gauge has been running very low for a year or two, or less or more, on that tool, on the ear, it will be sounding like a tractor engine. That's how bad it can be. And then you come out, but my engine is running very well. Your ignorance is very baffling. When people make such statements, honestly, I just don't know. Because your vehicle, obviously, if you do not know, is a pure science. So everything that makes the car to tick, whatever tick in that car, it still remains science. So when it comes to yours, it will devoid science. Leave your fan alone. I understand that ignorance in Nigeria, when it comes to car maintenance or car culture, is like a virus eating deep into majority. You could be surprised how people will want to argue with you, debate with you, to tell you, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Sometimes I just, what? Maybe they all deserve that. Go to the market. Nigeria is basically a dumping ground of both dead and other, maybe, good used engines. Dumping ground. If you have money to looking for where to invest, and you haven't figured it out, just go and find, even if you are not in that type of business, trust me, find a way you can gather some people around, open a shop and start importing used engines and used gearboxes. Trust me, you have made it too. Go to any spare parts market in Nigeria and stand there for 10 minutes. Within 10 minutes, you will see not less than minimum, at least, if not 20 engines leaving those markets. Because almost every day, you'll be surprised in a town in Nigeria, at least towns where they sell this kind of engines. Minimum, people will buy at least about 20 to 50 used engines, including transmissions. I don't even want to go to automatic transmission. That one is even scary. Yeah, these vehicles, before he came to Nigeria, before he started using it, somebody like you, a human being like you, have used this car over there in the Western world, use it for 10 years, 5, 20 years, or even more. Everything will be sound, no oil shortage, nothing. But as soon as he enters Nigeria, the first thing you do, before, even while he's still at the wharf, is to yank out the thermostat, run the fan direct. And then you start complaining, but the paper, according to the paper says the fuel consumption is supposed to be, I don't know, 1 liter per 50 kilometers. That's what it's supposed to consume. How come my own is consuming 50 liters per 1 kilometer? I don't know. There are some questions here that's not meant to be asked. You're supposed to tell yourself why your life sucks, why your own car is a mess. But in Nigeria, it's different because almost everybody is suffering that. Well, not me anyway. You know, the best I can do is to bring it to your notice for those who are that ignorant. You know. But I can understand not everybody, you don't have to be expert to know these things. All you need to do, have a curious mind, have a critical mind, ask certain questions, even if you don't speak it, ask it out. Ask your mind, have your mind think. Then you can be able to research and then find out, well, how come these things have been working in some countries that even their weather is even harsher than ours? And yet, when they bring it here, they tell you, no, your own country is almost neighbor to the sun. So you shouldn't be using thermostat. Your fan should be run direct. Anyway, so for those who don't know what I meant by your temperature gauge staying low, let me show you. This is the temperature gauge. You see this blue zone? You see this is the blue zone I meant. This is indicator. So this is coolant temperature gauge. As long as this indicator does not exceed this blue zone, your engine is grinding rapidly. You're killing your engine, as in not even gradual. You are winding it down, as in expect it to fail as much as lesser than or sooner than you expect. Likewise, expect your fuel consumption to say high. Anytime your engine is running and your temperature gauge is within this blue zone or less than 70 degrees Celsius or within this area, the fuel consumption is, your engine is consuming fuel more than it should at that time. If it's supposed to run 1 kilometer, 1 liter of fuel per 100 kilometers, at that time, it probably is consuming about, I don't know, more liters per 100 kilometers. Call it 5 or thereabout. It's consuming too much fuel at that time. So if your temperature gauge on your modern car does not get close to 90 degrees Celsius, sometimes even higher depending on your car, on the instruction on your user manual, then you are grinding your engine, then your fuel consumption is higher. So even if you think your car doesn't consume less fuel, and you are still running it to work like this, you have no idea what you are losing on that car. Because by the time you fix it by disconnecting or reversing your fan to go back to factory to only come up when the engine needs it to come up, then you understand, you will see the difference in terms of fuel consumption, and then you will stop losing your engine. I know it may not make sense because everybody now is an expert online. Not necessarily, everybody is now an expert, even when you are trying to educate. You are trying to push their mind, to put their critical thinking cap, and they understand why they are having all these issues. Why is it that your car initially can do 100 kilometers per hour within 5, 6, 7, or 8 seconds? 2 years or 3 years into the ownership, you'll be struggling to do 100 kilometers per hour acceleration, less than 20 kilometers, or even sometimes more than 20 seconds, I meant. Because your engine is already weak. Even if he has not started smoking, he's weak. You've killed the engine gradually. You've killed it because that he hasn't. He's just waiting for it to pack up. But if it's dead, it's almost dead. It's just a question of time. You know. So I hope that makes sense. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.